and 36 sites achieved below 50% completion. These district hospitals, 3 district hospitals, and this is important because some people have gone out there to say only one was completed. 3 district hospitals achieved practical completion, equipped and commissioned on 5th December 2024. And they are Achima Konguma Municipal Hospital at Trading, Konguma Municipal Hospital at Trading, the Oforikro Municipal Hospital at Kokoben, and Ahanta West Municipal Hospital at Bokro. We also have dedicated sources of funding. Some have said that we are just doing it in an ad hoc manner. We have dedicated sources of funding from the government annual budgetary allocation and the CAPEX component of the annual budget funding amount from oil revenues. To roll out a PPP framework to stimulate housing. These strides made in the housing sector marked an unprecedented change in the approach to resolving the housing deficit in Ghana. Instead of seeking to lambast the outgone administration, credit should rather be given to it, followed by a commitment to build on it. The Ghana Priority Health Infrastructure Project, referred to as Agenda 111, was to design, construct, and equip 111 hospitals across the country. The need for the construction of hospitals became essential after Ghana recorded its first case of COVID-19 on 12 March 2020. In one of his regular addresses to the nation, where he detailed the government's measures to contain the spread of the virus, His Excellency, President Akufo-Addo, bemoaned the lack of hospitals in some 88 districts and 6 newly created regions of the country, and promised swift government investment in new hospitals, not only to address the urgent need to contain the spread of the virus in those districts and regions, but also to correct the anomaly in the distribution of health infrastructure across the country. The initial hospitals comprise of 101 district hospitals, 7 regional hospitals, 2 regional psychiatric hospitals, and 1 national psychiatric hospital in Accra. The program was, however, revised to include 3 district hospitals, thus expanding to cover 114 sites. As at 31st December 2024, progress on completion of civil works were 37 sites achieved 70% completion and above. 28 sites achieved between 50 and 70% completion, and 36 sites achieved below 50% completion. These district hospitals, 3 district hospitals, and this is important because some people have gone out there to say only one was completed. 3 district hospitals achieved practical completion, equipped and commissioned on 5th December 2024. And they are Achima Konguma Municipal Hospital at Trading, Konguma Municipal Hospital at Trading, the Oforikro Municipal Hospital at Kokoben, and Ahanta West Municipal Hospital at Bokro. We also have dedicated sources of funding. Some have said that we are just doing it in an ad hoc manner. We have dedicated sources of funding from the government annual budgetary allocation and the CAPEX component of the annual budget funding amount from oil revenues. Total outstanding amount to complete all these district hospitals and the zonal psychiatric hospitals as at 31st December 2024 was $1.3 billion. In his haste to misinform the Ghanaian people, the president told a group of clergymen who visited him in his office that he needed $1.7 billion to complete the Agenda 111 projects. In his address to the nation last week, he put the amount at 22 billion Ghana cedis, and that is $1.4 billion, at 15.5 cedis to $1. So, Mr. President, which is the correct amount? We have taken note of the new government's plan to abandon these projects by proposing to relaunch the ABFA from oil revenues used in financing these projects to other projects. This is unacceptable, Mr. President. And this certainly will lead to significant cost overruns, which will later come to hurt our country. The NDC has resorted to a deliberate distortion of road sector data as a way of undermining the work the NPP administration has done. When it is reported that between January 2017 and June 2024, the NPP successfully undertook works covering a total length of 13,624 kilometers, the NDC mischievously reports it as a claim of some 13,000 kilometers of brand new roads. We have always made it clear that this figure represents the total kilometers of roads we worked on, including construction of brand new, reconstruction of dilapidated roads, rehabilitation of bad roads, and upgrades of roads in poor condition. This is a major achievement when compared to the NDC's paltry 4,636 kilometers delivered by the Atta Mills and Mahama administration over the entire 8 years in office, covering the same scope of works. So we are talking about 13,624 kilometers versus 4,636 kilometers. And yet they say we criminally mismanaged the economy. Ladies and gentlemen, between 2019 and 2016, the Atta Mills and Mahama administration managed to complete only 5 interchanges. And I mean just 5 in 8 years. The World Bank Country Director stated on 7th August 2024 that in terms of road density, kilometers of road per 100 square kilometer land, Ghana has road access that exceeds the regional average. 32.8 kilometers per 100 square kilometers in Ghana versus 17 kilometers regional average in Africa. Wow. That is nearly double the regional average. Ghana is also above the regional average in terms of rural accessibility. In Ghana, 63% of the population lives within 2 kilometers of all weather routes, as compared to only 47% in the African region. We must celebrate our achievement, ladies and gentlemen, irrespective of we must celebrate President Akufo-Addo's drive to boost the tertiary gross enrollment ratio. Besides this, however, the vision espoused by President Mahama is uninspiring, exposing a profound education best practice and knowledge gap. Clearly, the President's speech lacked coherence and did not articulate clearly the role of education in the transformation of Ghana. Many of the initiatives announced are already being implemented with a high degree of success under the previous regime. Consequently, a number of reforms have taken place across all STEM High, East Lagos STEM Academy, Passingly STEM, SHS, Bosenji STEM, and Girls HSS, and so on. In addition to that, over 20 STEM centers have been built in existing schools across the country. Contrary to the assertion by the President that the Ghanaian education system is outmoded, we have rather enhanced our education system during the last few years. An education system that has introduced courses like biomedical sciences, engineering, aviation, manufacturing engineering, robotics, and so on. We have also built science and engineering labs across the country. This system of education cannot be described as outmoded. It cannot be described as outmoded. Robotics. As we speak, high school students are receiving tablets to facilitate technology integration to enhance teaching and learning under the Ghana Smart Schools project introduced to empower students on a global scale. Here we are talking about smart schools. That cannot be outmoded. Whilst His Excellency, the President, has outlined his vision for education and skills development, it is imperative to acknowledge the substantial progress made under the previous administration in transforming technical and vocational education and training in Ghana. In 2017, the TVET sector was uncoordinated, and some 17 ministries were engaged in some form of TVET regulation and delivery, and therefore made coordination across the landscape quite challenging, since each of the TVET institutions were taking direct instruction from their ministries and legislations. Almost all the workshops in the TVET institutions were filled with obsolete tools and equipment, and outdated curricula as well. The sector was not responsive to the needs of industry. The linkage between training providers and industry was very weak, which caused mismatches in the demand and supply. The Akufo-Addo-led government implemented bold reforms backed by significant investments to revamp TVET, ensuring it becomes a viable pathway for skills acquisition, entrepreneurship, and employment creation. Some of the key interventions and accomplishments in the sector include the establishment of the Commission for TVET and the Ghana TVET Service, introduction of free TVET into the free senior high school policy, leading to a massive jump in 3-year enrollment from 41,696 students in 2016 to over 172,473 students in 2024. Construction of 4 new TVET centers of excellence, rehabilitation and equipping of tertiary and pre-tertiary TVET institutions, implementation of competency-based training, establishment of sector skills bodies, among others. We have laid an institution that is not formed by political parties. The power to appoint lower court, district, and circuit court judges is in the Chief Justice, subject to the approval of the President under Article 148 of the 1992 Constitution. No political person has power to start the process. If the President doesn't approve, all he can say is no. What evidence then has the President got to portray that our judiciary has been politicized? Pursuant to Article 144 of the Constitution, superior court judges are not appointed by the President alone. His choices must be approved by the Judicial Council and by the Council of State. Any refusal by any of these bodies means the President's nominee will not become a judge or be promoted. By Article 153 of the Constitution, the Judicial Council is made up of 14 constituencies. The President contributes in the selection of the Attorney General and 4 non-lawyers to the Council. How is the President suggesting that these non-lawyers that he sends can politicize independent thinking of the remaining majority on the Council? Judges are professionals who must serve our democracy free of insinuation that intimidate them, as if they don't toe a political line, they will not be appointed to the next level. It is such utterances by politicians that can affect the ability of judges to serve the country independently. If that is what he wants to achieve, then it is unfortunate, really unfortunate. After all, he kept saying that his party will look through their ranks and encourage them to become judges, to serve the interests of his party. Therefore, in our view, the President's statement about politicization of the judiciary is only an expression of his own agenda, which he kept touting before the elections, if we recall.
That's true.
Supporters of the newly elected president who won jobs have allegedly attacked some state institutions, looted property, and engaged in disturbances that have left some police and military personnel in jail. The president was silent about all this. How can you talk about the state of the nation without talking about the state of violence and lawlessness that we are all witnesses to over the last 2 months? Ladies and gentlemen, I'll give you a few instances of this violence. At Ayanswano, angry youth set the Electoral Commission office ablaze. The standoff at the Ghana Gas headquarters, we all remember, where security forces fired warning shots to disperse a crowd of protesters belonging to the NDC. A Mamobi hooded individual parading through the streets on vehicles and motorbikes, disturbing everybody's peace. And nobody said anything to them. In Obuasi, civilians and party members were in direct showdown with military officers. Several shooting incidents led to 4 dead and many injured. In Demongo, frustrated youth stormed the Demongo Municipal Coalition Center and set the EC office ablaze. 1 person died and the office was burnt down. 8 suspects were also arrested for attacking the Metro Mass Transit workshop in Sunyani, Bono region. Suspects unlawfully entered the workshop premises and attacked and threatened workers, forcing them to flee. A wave of violence swept through Ejura police station as angry Zongo youth attacked a local police station, freeing suspects on remand and setting the police station on fire. The lifeless body of a final year biological sciences student of Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology was discovered near the KNUST Disability and Rehabilitation Center. The Council of State Elections in the Ashanti region descended into chaos as a group of unidentified thugs stormed the election center, disrupting the sorting and counting of ballots.
NDC people.
In Bonkurugu,
identified.
Intensive clash have led to 4 people losing their lives. 4 students were arrested at Wega Divisional Police Command after a clash ensued between some students of Christian Methodist Senior High School and local youth over a missing mobile phone at the school premises at Aplaku. 5 students sustained severe injuries, with several others suffering minor wounds after violence erupted during a peace ceremony between students of Boku Senior High School and Boku Technical Institute. 20 students from Salaga Senior High School in the East Goja municipality of the Savannah region have been arrested following a violent clash that left 1 person with multiple stab wounds. It is sad, ladies and gentlemen, to mention that because of the insecurity in our country, the Electoral Commission has not been able to conclude Ablekuma parliamentary election declaration. This certainly is a dark spot in our democratic dispensation, given that the people of Ablekuma North are currently not having a representative in parliament. Insecurity in the Boku area continues to heighten in recent times, with a woman and her 2 children being tragically murdered in their home by gunmen on February 9, 2025. Again, on February 25, 2025, a 13-year-old boy was killed in the same township. The indiscriminate killing of the indigenous of Waliwali and its environs is getting out of hand, and the imposition of curfew in the area is making it difficult for our Muslim brothers and sisters to wake up at dawn to eat and start their fasting. Government needs to decouple politics from security and ensure that every Ghanaian is protected. Mr. President Sakawa, this is how they intend to tax Ghanaians to collect their target of 200 billion Ghana cedis in tax revenues this year. This NDC government accused us, the NPP administration, of overtaxing the people of Ghana, because by the end of 2024, the NPP administration collected 152.9 billion Ghana cedis. Wow. And that was 17% tax to GDP ratio, taking it from President Mahama's 13% in 2016. How do you then turn around to expect to collect 200 billion Ghana cedis in an economy you call a broken economy? Ladies and gentlemen, we, the mighty minority, will join the people of Ghana to resist any attempt to smuggle in new taxes or increase existing taxes. We owe it a duty to hold the government accountable for their promises to the people of Ghana. Yes. We can only accommodate scrapping of taxes. Yes. We cannot accept new taxes or increasing taxes. Ladies and gentlemen, as a country, we have come a long way, working closely with our key stakeholders, including the IMF, World Bank, the African Development Bank, our bilateral partners, domestic and international investors, and more importantly, the Ghanaian people, who have sacrificed so much to see us get this far. We can assure you all that our partners and most of the people of Ghana are not happy because the president used his State of the Nation address, in fact, the false State of the Nation address, to reverse the gains made, especially towards building confidence with investors. The president has painted the picture of a country that has been economically mismanaged, when in fact, we have turned the corner from what we have all come to know was the worst economic crisis in Ghana following an unprecedented global crisis between 2020 and 2022. Yes. Even when they were confronted with a domestic challenge in the form of doomsday, they ran to the IMF to save the economy. How much more a crisis that plagued the entire world, including our country, and in no mean a proportion. What the president has done is like putting a gun on one's head and pulling the trigger. Investors had felt the hope of a resurging economy in Ghana, and were looking forward to the new things the president was bringing to consolidate the gains. The president has effectively told them to go away because the economy is in crisis, contrary to the evidence. The cost of living crisis is a global problem. It's a global problem, and we all know that. Another national economic dialogue. And don't forget, with the same Dadanua, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who promises to create jobs and begin by firing those who have jobs. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow citizens, this is the true state of the nation.
Yeah. Authentic.
Which the mighty minority has presented to the Ghanaians. In the food. But his rush to paint this situation as bad. And soon we will see how he recovers from it. What the president also failed to do was to inform the people of Ghana that there are other significant measures of the performance of the economy that informs the state of the nation, other than inflation alone. Real GDP growth, trade balance, current account balance, and international reserves. The performance of the financial sector, among others. These are the important components of our economy. That is the real sector, the external sector, and the financial sector. The average growth in real GDP for the first 3 quarters of 2024 was 6.4%, and expected to end the year at a rate above the IMF target of 4%. This trend outperformed all projections and revised projections by both the IMF and the World Bank. If this is bad by President Mahama's standard, see the president's previous record. In 2016, the economy grew by 3.4%. It was 4% the year before. And so if you call 6.4% bad, how about 3.4%, ladies and gentlemen? He underperformed by all standards, whilst President Akufo-Addo overperformed. The trade balance also shows a significant economic improvement, maintaining a surplus trend since 2017, ending 2024 with a surplus of 5.9% of GDP. If this is bad economy, let's consider President Mahama's record of a deficit of 2% of GDP. Surplus 5.9% of GDP at the end of 2024, compared with a deficit 2% of GDP at the end of 2016. The current account balance also ended 2024 with a surplus of 4.2% of GDP, the very few times in recent history to have a surplus current account. And such a surplus tells us of the strength of the external payments positions of the country. Throughout